Hey everyone, so in this video I wanted to talk through one idea that's really helped me, and that's success through absorbing knowledge and taking action. And on this channel I hope to share with you strategies, thoughts, insights, methods, etc. off of my own creation that I hope will help you in your piano playing and hopefully other areas of your life as well. So I feel like recently there's something of a false dichotomy or this binary thinking between the idea of learning a lot, absorbing a lot from books, absorbing a lot from courses, podcasts, etc., and the idea of taking action, actually doing things rather than just learning, absorbing things. And I would say a big part of my relative success up to this point, because thankfully I'm enjoying a life and business that's going pretty well and a great family life and everything, and things are going pretty swimmingly compared to other times in my life. And I'd like to think it's because I have a really good relationship with both absorbing knowledge, learning, and with actually literally doing things and taking action. And it is definitely possible to do both. I find that a lot of the time I am using a kind of staggered strategy. And I talked about this in at least one or two other videos. If you search David Chang staggered, probably, or staggered strategy, you might find some things as applied to piano playing, and you might find some things as applied to life as well too. And by this I mean, for instance, let's say that I'm learning about a given topic, such as, let's say it's just piano playing and let's just say it's the first quarter of the year. So I'm learning tons about piano playing in the first quarter of the year. Well, in the second quarter of the year, maybe I'm learning tons about business, let's just say generally. But in that same second quarter, I'm also executing relentlessly on the piano playing that I had learned from the first quarter. I had time to absorb all of that knowledge that's coming in, and now I'm taking incredible action on the new information that I've absorbed about piano playing. And at the same time, I'm voraciously devouring everything to do with this business related thing that's very interesting to me. And then in the third quarter, perhaps I'm learning about drawing, which really I wouldn't be, because I'm not good at drawing and I'm not interested in learning about it right now. But let's just say as an example, I'm learning tons and tons about drawing. And again, I am just executing on all that business stuff that I learned in the second quarter. So that's a simple staggered strategy where it's, each thing has two stages or two levels, and they're kind of offset by one. And so at any given point, I'm executing on what I'd learned the previous quarter, and I'm learning, absorbing something new that I will then execute on in the next quarter. And that's just a very simple staggered strategy. It could be much more elaborate, where if level 3 is the final stage of completion, so to speak, it's like you're learning something and it's at level 1 in quarter 1, and then in quarter 2 you're learning something new, and that new thing is of course at level 1, and the thing that was at level 1 in the first quarter is now at level 2 of completion. And then of course the third quarter, the thing that was at level 1 in quarter 1 and level 2 in quarter 2, now it's at level 3 in quarter 3, of course. And the thing that was at level 1 in quarter 2 is now at level 2 in quarter 3. And then you're learning a new thing, which is level 1 in quarter 3. And the thing that's at level 3 in quarter 3, I mean, that's completed, or I'm relentlessly executing on that now. And, and so the pattern continues. So you can use these sorts of staggered strategies very effectively, I find, in life as well. It's the same with piano playing as well. I have this video, something like staggered and global spaced repetition strategy in learning piano fast, something similar to that if you search for it or you search my name, David Chang. And I talk about planting seeds in certain sections of the music, and then maybe the next section or the next time, like, you might be relentlessly executing on seeds that you'd planted, and then you're also planting new seeds as well. So that has served me very well. And again, I just feel like there are like these two camps, where one of the camps is like, oh, it's really good to like always be reading. It's really good to always be learning, and you really should be investing in books, investing in courses. And it's silly to not absorb information and so on. Don't just mindlessly do things. You should be constantly bettering yourself and learning. And then there's the other camp that's like, actually, you're mainly just wasting time busying yourself with, listening to another podcast, just reading about a book so that you can post it on social media, just signing up for yet another course, when in fact, like, you just need to take action. If you don't take action, you're basically an idiot, because you're just absorbing all this information for no reason. You're not changing things in your life. And I think both camps have a very valid point, because on the one hand, you certainly don't want to be taking mindless action without any information. But on the other hand, you don't want to just be absorbing information and thinking, I'm keeping busy, but in fact, nothing's actually changing in your life. I think there are some very successful people that say intelligence is really measured by the actual differences, the actual actions that occur in your life. It's not just mere academics or just, absorbing knowledge for the sake of it. And I think that both are so important. They're so important, because I've had many occasions now, especially even more so within the last 5 years, but even more so within the last 2 or so years, as my business has grown and I've been able to help many more serious adult learners, both amateurs and professionals. And yeah, I think any kind of, like, I read a book and literally my entire world can change in terms of how I'm viewing it. It leads to insights that would have been impossible. It leads to changes in my business and in my life and the lives of my students and in the lives of my family and so on that would have been otherwise impossible, just from opening a book and just reading it cover to cover. Or sometimes it could even be an article or something, but for me, more often it's books, because there's so much repetition, which I love, all these nuances and tidbits and wrinkles and layers to it that come back in all different ways. And that's what causes things to be absorbed deeply in my brain. And so then the implication is that just by going through another course, just by going through another book, that could have that information encountering my system. And now I have, like, so much knowledge that there's many different parts of my knowledge base that this new knowledge can then attach to, that could change everything. It could change my entire quality of life. It could change possibilities for us for years to come. And again, very attached to that, if I read these books and I don't actually change anything, I just read it and I'm like, wow, that was a really good book. And I don't choose to literally teach my students differently. I don't choose to change my piano playing. I don't choose to change my business model, which I actually have, like, several times in these past 5 years, and especially the past 2 years or so. Then that first camp is right, so to speak. I'm really just, I guess, absorbing that knowledge for my own intellectual satisfaction and maybe, like, bragging rights to others that I'm reading. But really, I think a big part of the reason why things are going quite well is because I'm so good at both sides of this. And that's what I try to impart to my students and to my clients as well, too. And so I am reading a book a week now, and it is really not just for the sake of it. I mean, I deeply enjoy it, just like I deeply enjoy piano playing. I think it's so important for me to be seriously practicing. I think it's so important for me to be seriously reading and learning. I've been through, like, tons of courses, some of which are very long, some of which were over 100 hours long, and I actually just invested very heavily in myself again. I think every year now I'm very heavily investing in my education to better myself, and by bettering myself, I'm going to be able to help all of my students and clients better as well, too. And that's the same reason why I'm continuing to very, very seriously practice the piano. So it's so important, I feel, to be a model and example if you want your students to practice, if you want your students to be lifelong learners, and your clients, of course. And it really is extremely fulfilling and enriching. And of course, I'm trying to read the books and go through the courses that seem most valuable, that maybe one of my most respected mentors recommends, or people that I greatly, greatly respect in the piano or the teaching or the business worlds. And I am also a relentless action taker. I think the reason things have changed so rapidly for me in recent years is because I am the sort of person that reads something and then I will make fundamental changes. It's not like I act on every single little impulse, but I'll read things, things will come into my system, and I'll think, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? I'll take the thing that I think is going to make the most positive change, and then I'll go all in on whatever that is. I mean, I'll weigh the pros and cons and so on, but it's not like when I read a book, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to fundamentally change everything just because of this one book. But I honestly feel like it's been happening more often than not. I'm constantly referencing back to the book. So I think they become a part of my system. Before I was like, how am I going to remember all this? I mean, I write in the margins, I underline and so on, but I'm not doing anything else special. I don't have like I'm pretty old fashioned. I don't have a Kindle. I don't have like an ebook reader or anything. I just have like good old fashioned books that are lying around. Like this phone and phone stand right now is on a pile of books, and there's piles of books everywhere. um, so, but I think just by thinking about it, reflecting all the time, because the reflecting is also a type of spaced repetition, by writing about it, by talking about the books with other people, and then by thinking like, how can this affect my life? How can this affect my students? How can this affect my business and everything? Because I'm constantly engaging with the material and taking notes on it and everything, it starts to seep into my consciousness. And of course, I'm going to go back and review now and then if it's a particularly valuable book. So, yeah, so I really strongly advocate finding success partially through both absorbing tons and tons and tons of knowledge, but then at the same time taking incredible action. And you might be different from me because basically at any given moment, I feel that I'm absorbing tons of new information and then executing like in every way possible, multiplying 100-fold whatever I find works well in at least one area that I've read about. Maybe it was a book that I read a few weeks ago or a few months ago, or I'm just absorbing it now. It could be that for some other people that there's some kind of a different pattern. Maybe like half the year you're absorbing, and then, you're just learning, you're just reading, or you're just going through courses or videos or whatever it may be. Because now it's like we live in the land of like infinite knowledge. Like there's so much incredible information on YouTube and everywhere else too, that it's silly to not absorb all of it. There's an enormous opportunity cost from not reading a book, from not going through a course, going through these YouTube videos, because you're essentially gaining enormous amounts of time and energy, and you're avoiding all the mistakes that these piano teachers or business people or pianists or whatever made in the past by listening to their knowledge, right? And it's available. A lot of it is available for free, but you can also choose to heavily invest in your own education, as I have, if you thankfully have the means to. So honestly forget what I was talking about right before. Oh, that's right. So maybe the first half of the year you're absorbing like tons and tons of information only, and then the second half of the year you're just taking action on all of that information, right? Maybe you're not using a staggered strategy. Maybe that total focus is better for you. So I think there's many ways to go about it. But anyway, hope that this particular idea was helpful to you. You definitely can be absorbing tons of knowledge and taking incredible action. So if you found that helpful, please let me know. Please like and subscribe and let people know about the channel, and looking forward to the next one.